You ever wonder why some of the truly wealthiest people you could ever meet look, well, completely normal? Today we're going to dig into a really counterintuitive idea, that the real secret to building lasting wealth might just be acting like you don't have any at all.
Just picture this scene at a Starbucks, right? And listen, this kind of thing happens way more than you'd think. It perfectly captures this upside-down world of what wealth looks like today. It's not just a funny story. It's a huge lesson in the difference between looking rich and actually being rich. And that right there, that's the core conflict. Are you playing the game of looking rich, which, let's be honest, is all about spending, or are you playing the game of being rich, which is all about keeping and growing the money you have? The path you choose, well, that changes everything. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll define what this whole stealth wealth thing really is. Then we'll get into the psychological benefits, lay out a practical playbook, and finally, talk about the ultimate payoff. So let's get right to it. What is this concept all about? At its heart, this isn't some complicated financial secret. It really just boils down to some super simple math. Math that, honestly, most of us just ignore in our day-to-day lives. So, what exactly is stealth wealth? It's really a massive mindset shift. It's about consciously rewiring your brain to value real financial security and freedom way more than you value social status and what other people think. It's all about substance over flash. Okay, check this out, because this is where the math gets really wild. The high earner making $100,000 a year, they let their lifestyle inflate right up to their income, so they've got zero, literally nothing left to invest. But the person making way less, just $60,000, by living like they only make $40,000, they open up this huge $20,000 gap for investing. And that right there, that's how people quietly build fortunes. But listen, this whole strategy is so much more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. Let's talk about the psychological advantages, which you could argue are even more powerful than the financial ones. Yeah, this quote absolutely nails it. By living below your means, you're not actually creating scarcity for yourself, you're creating an abundance of options. You have flexibility, you have security, you have the freedom to make choices that people living paycheck to paycheck, no matter how high their income, simply can't make. Okay, so let's put this into a real-world scenario. A dream career move, a brilliant business idea, maybe a once-in-a-lifetime investment. What happens when one of these just lands in your lap? Are you actually in a position to say yes? And this just lays it out perfectly, right? The person with high expenses, the fancy car, the big mortgage, they're chained to their salary. They can't afford to take a smart risk. But the person practicing stealth wealth, they've built a safety net, a cushion, that gives them the ultimate freedom, the freedom to actually bet on themselves. And it's not just about jumping on big opportunities. There's another huge perk. You get to fly completely under the radar. Because the moment people think you have money, I'm telling you, everything changes. Acting broke protects you from a whole world of social drama and financial pressure. Yeah, you can almost think of these as like a hidden tax for looking rich. All of a sudden, you're the first person friends and family hit up for a loan. You're just expected to pick up the tab when you go out. Vendors might quote you higher prices, and you can even become a target for lawsuits or scams. That's just a constant drain, not just on your bank account, but on your relationships too. And you know what? There's a mental cost too. Constantly thinking about the next upgrade, the next car, a bigger house, a fancier watch. It just eats up so much mental energy. This is called decision fatigue. By simplifying your life, you free up all that brain power for the decisions that actually matter, the ones that are going to move the needle on your wealth. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the why. So now, let's get practical and talk about the how. Here are some real-world strategies for putting this whole financial camouflage thing into action. And this table just lays it out so clearly, especially for the two biggest things most of us spend money on, our house and our car. The conventional path is to just max out whatever the bank says you can afford. The stealth wealth path is to intentionally choose less house, less car, and free up thousands of dollars every single month to invest and build real security. And this right here, this is maybe the biggest mental flip you have to make. This is not about depriving yourself. It's about empowering yourself. You get to a point where you could buy almost anything you want, but you choose not to because you understand what that money could be doing for you instead. You see its potential. All right, so where does this all lead? What's the real end game here? Let's talk about the ultimate reward for taking this, let's face it, pretty unconventional approach to money. Well, what it does is it creates this amazing, powerful feedback loop that just builds on itself. You start by acting broke. That leads to a higher savings rate. That gives you more capital to invest. That capital then generates more freedom and more options, which, study after study shows, leads to way more life satisfaction. It just keeps going.
Okay, but we have to be super clear about something. This is not about being cheap. It's not about depriving yourself of everything that brings you joy. It's about being strategic. You absolutely still spend money, but you spend it on things that bring real, lasting value to your life. Things like experiences, your health, education, not on stuff that loses value the second you buy it.
And at the end of the day, it all comes down to this idea of intrinsic motivation. You finally break that exhausting cycle of keeping up with the Joneses, because your choices are driven by your values, not by what you think will impress your neighbors. This, right here, is the key to real, long-term financial peace of mind.
Think about it. When you buy that flashy thing, its future value is pretty much zero, right? But the real cost isn't the price tag. The real hidden cost is what that money could have grown into over the next 10, 20, or 30 years if you had just invested it. That is the massive invisible price of status.
So, I'm going to leave you with this one last thought to really chew on. In a world that is obsessed with showing off, with these outward displays of success, what if the smartest, most powerful, and most confident financial statement you could ever make is the one that absolutely nobody ever sees?